Hi and welcome to episode 33 of Mind in Bloom TV by Adventures with Flowers with me, Kendall Platt, where I talk about all things mindful gardening and floristry and how they can help you to feel calmer, happier and less overwhelmed. My mission with Adventures with Flowers is to encourage busy women to feel able to give themselves more time each day and to reconnect with nature. Even 5 minutes a day can help you to feel calmer and less stressed in just a few days. The reason I care so deeply about this is because after overloading myself at work and at home for most of my adult life, I developed quite bad anxiety and was on the cusp of burnout. And if I can do anything to prevent you from going through that as well, then I'm going to do it. I feel passionate about changing the societal norm of women doing everything for everyone and putting ourselves last on the list, not just for us, but also for our daughters. Undoubtedly, the best way for us to make that change is to show the next generation that we take time for ourselves every day to unwind, to grow, and just to put ourselves first for 5 minutes out of the 1,400 odd minutes that there are in a day. And hopefully that will become the new normal. My clients often say to me that they find it hard to sit and do nothing when they're trying to relax. And I completely get that because I was exactly the same. But something that I have found that allows me small amounts of time to myself every day to unwind is growing and arranging my own cut flowers. And in this series, I hope to be able to talk about some of the benefits, methods and reasons for doing so. In this episode, I'm going to share with you my top 10 cut flowers to grow mindfully from seed. Each plant or flower that I've selected has been chosen because it has the ability to entrance one of your senses. And as a beginner mindful gardener, honing in to your senses is a really good way to develop your practice and also to feel the real benefits of the relaxation that gardening can bring. So first up is scent, and our first flower is sweet peas. So you're getting a little sneak peek here. This is one of the mindful gardening activity cards that's in the monthly boxes that get sent to Mind in Bloom membership program members. So sweet peas, they are wonderful because they clamber up anything that you put them near. So I'm actually going to be using my old Christmas tree this year for mine to grow up, which I think is going to look really effective once they've grown up it, and then they start to bloom into these beautiful, sweet smelling, brightly coloured flowers. So I'm really excited for that. When you get your sweet pea seeds out of the packet, you will probably notice that they've got quite a hard coat on them, and in order to help them germinate, it's a really good idea to soak them overnight in water. This will help the sweet pea seeds to swell inside and then crack the outer coating, which just means that you'll likely get a better germination rate. So that's called pre-sprouting. So that's a little tip for you there. So my second scented flower is Sweet Rocket. Now these are either purple or white, but they're clusters of tiny little flowers on top of quite a tall stem. They're a true cottage garden favourite, but again, as the name suggests, they've got a really lovely sweet scent. And they are perfect. They're actually grown as a biennial, which is when the seed is sown this year, but the flowers aren't produced until next year, which I know seems like a long time to wait, but the reason they're so brilliant is because they will flower in the May gap. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about the May gap before, that is when the spring flowering bulbs, so your daffodils, tulips, have finished, but your annuals that you planted, you've only just sown in kind of March, haven't quite started flowering yet. So if you're not careful, you can have a distinct lack of anything to arrange, which for the mindful florist is pretty upsetting. So the biennials are a really good option for this. So you do have to wait a bit longer, but they will flower in that period when quite often there isn't much flower about. So the next category is sight. So the first flower in this is Cosmos. You've probably seen these before. They're kind of almost like big sort of daisies, but they tend to be pinks and whites. Sometimes you get pink and white within one flower. I think there's a yellow variety as well, actually, but I've never grown that. But yeah, they have this lovely kind of ferny foliage. I don't know if you can see there, which is really nice to add a bit of airiness to arrangements as well. And they are a classic cut and come again flower. So if you cut some flowers and arrange them, have them in an arrangement for the house, then they will grow more flowers. And the more you cut with them, the more they flower. So these are a really great garden workhorse to have, and they are a real treat for your sense of sight as well. Next up is the Antirrhinums. These are a classic spire shape. So you can probably see here, if I turn this upside down, they're tall spires of flower. You may know them as snapdragons. That's their common name. The Latin one, Antirrhinum, bit random, I can never spell it. But yeah, so they are classic spire shape, which I think you need, well, that's one of my top 5 flower shapes to have in every bouquet. So these are a really great option. They are actually perennial plants, so once you've sown them, you can just leave them and they will flower every year. But because we're growing to cut the flowers, in the second year, the show of flowers is far reduced. So I prefer to sow them fresh every year, and then cut the flowers from them and get best flower production for the space every year. So that's my tip for those ones. So the next plant to grow from seed is called Bupleurum. I think I'm saying that correctly. And this actually isn't a flower, it is foliage. Now I'm going to just have a quick word about foliage here, because I think it's really easy to get carried away with growing all these lovely flowers. But actually, in order to make a nice rounded arrangement, you do need to have some lovely foliage in there as well. Now, a couple of reasons I really like Bupleurum, I have to think every time I say it, is the contrast of colours within it. So you've got a dark green stem and outer leaves, but then you've got these little lovely lime green sort of heads on each stem. So I really like the contrast there. It can really freshen up a bouquet. And also they are brilliant because, again, like the Cosmos, the more you cut them, the more they produce. So this is a really, really great foliage workhorse for your cut flower garden. So my next sense is the sense of touch. And the first flower I'm going to start with on this is called a zinnia. Now, a normal zinnia would not particularly be a treat for your sense of touch, but the variety I'm going to talk about today is called Zinderella, and it has this kind of lovely fluffy collar around the top of it. And I actually hadn't even really noticed that it was particularly fluffy or nice to feel until my little girl last year was sort of rubbing her fingers over it and going, that's what she used to do if she ever like stroked a teddy. She'd go, and so I was like, oh, how funny, like I hadn't even noticed. So then of course I touched it and I was like, oh wow, it's actually really nice. So yeah, so that is something that's just a little bit different, and it's one of those things that when you see it in a bouquet, it will make you want to kind of reach out and touch it. Again, they are cut and come again, probably not quite as proliferous as your Cosmos, but you will get more flowers if you cut, more will grow. Also, this variety does come in a few colours. So I think there's a peach, there's a lilac colour, there's like a dark purple, or bright purple I suppose you could say, and a red as well. So you've got a few different options there of which ones to choose. Right, so my next one is called Panicum elegans Frosted Explosion. I just call it Frosted Explosion. So this is a bit of an idea of what it looks like. It's actually a type of grass, and it's kind of got long thin stems with these little seed pods on the end. Now, I defy anybody to wander past that plant and not sort of want to stick their hand out and touch it, because it just really looks like it would be so nice to touch. And then when you add that into a bouquet as well, not only does it provide you the space and sort of the negative space that looks really great in a bouquet, again, it inspires you to kind of want to touch it and see what it feels like. So that's really, really good for the sense of touch. And again, the more you cut, the more grows. And also with this, the seeds are really easy to save. So once you've grown it, and it gets towards the end of the season, everything's looking a bit crispy and brown, you can just cut the top off, save the seed, and you're going to have it forevermore. So you don't need to keep spending out on seeds. So this is a really, really great one. So now we're on to the sense of sound. And my absolute favourite, and actually quite a new addition to my cutting garden, is Brisa Maxima. So this is quite a zoomed in photo. You can see they kind of start life as this lovely kind of green, and then eventually they will sort of yellow and go brown. Now you can use them when they're at the green stage or the brown stage, completely up to you. They're really easy to dry. You can just chop them off when they're green, stand them in a vase, and they will dry of their own accord. Whether they're fresh or dried, as the wind kind of blows through your cutting patch, all these little seed heads knock together and they make the most lovely sound. So it's really nice sometimes to just sit with a cup of tea if you're feeling a bit like, you know, life's a bit full on, sit with a cup of tea next to that, and it's hopefully a nice windy day, and just the sound of it is just so entrancing. You know, you can kind of just sit there and just close your eyes and just listen to it, and it's really, really relaxing. What else did I have to say about that? Oh yeah, one thing, they will self-seed really readily. So I had these in a patch in one of my borders last year, and already this year they're up. I mean, it's only January and they're up, and they're going to be everywhere because each one of these is has loads of little seeds in. So there's no way that you can stop it from self-seeding. So just be really mindful of where you choose to plant that is where you're happy for them to stay, because it'll be tough to get rid of them. So now we're on to another self-seeder, which in my opinion is a great option because it's minimal effort from you, because the plants do the self-seeding themselves. You might have to dig up a couple of the new plant babies and just move them to somewhere that you would prefer for them to be, but actually it takes a lot of the pressure off of you sort of having to sow them and you know, get them to that stage, because they'll just naturally do it themselves, which is brilliant. And it is Cerinthe Major Purpurescens, this one. Or it's also called honeywort. So you can see here it's got this lovely purple colour, and the reason that it is so great for the sense of sound is not actually the plant, but it is the little visitors. So as you can imagine, these are very, very appealing to the bees because they're full of lovely nectar. So if you have a patch of this planted in your garden, guaranteed the bees will be all over it, and you'll again be able to just sit there with a cup of tea, relax, listen to the bees buzzing around, and it's again super relaxing. So there is something brilliant about tuning into your sense of sound after a long day and just closing your eyes and just letting, you know, the sounds wash around you. So give those a plant and give it a try this summer. Lastly, we have our sense of taste, and we could not ignore the calendula. So you've probably come across this scattered, the individual petals scattered across a salad, maybe as a garnish. They're quite peppery in taste. They're usually a lot brighter orange than this, the ones that are used in salads anyway. They also come in a yellow colour as well. So the reason these are so great is obviously that you can use them as a garnish on salads. There's loads of other things you can use them for, to flavour butter. The orange petals mixed through butter looks amazing. I've got a blog actually on all the different recipes you can use it for, which I will put in the show notes. One of my most favourite things to do is to make floral ice cubes with the petals as well. So, but again, I've got links to all that, so I'll put a link to that blog post in the show notes so you can access that. Again, they are cut and come again, so the more you cut, the more the flowers they produce, and also they really easily self-seed. And if you don't want them to self-seed, you can easily collect the seeds and save them for next year. So again, these are a really wonderful option, and they've got so many more uses, but they do look brilliant in bouquets as well. So now you've heard what my top 10 are, how about giving some mindful seed sowing a try? I have a blog post on how to sow your seeds mindfully. So whether you're brand new to gardening or you are a seasoned gardener but you would like to introduce a few more mindful elements into your gardening, then again, I will link to the blog post in the show notes. It's called Sowing Your Seeds Mindfully, or Mindful Seed Sowing, something like that. It's pretty obvious. So I'll link to that below. But it's obviously only January, so there's not that many seeds that I would advise sowing just yet, because it is a little bit early, other than these two. So your sweet peas will be absolutely fine if you sow them now. They probably will need to go on a cold windowsill somewhere, but they will be absolutely fine. In fact, I've got some of these that have self-seeded in my garden and they seem perfectly happy. Or your antirrhinums again, so they are quite happy to go now because they're actually relatively frost tolerant. So if you sow them now, you can put the plants out before the frosts are finished. Most of the other plants that I've spoken about are a little less hardy, so you'll need to probably wait to sow them till kind of end of Feb, early March, maybe even into mid-March. This is just because they are natively from a hotter climate and they just can't handle frost, so you need to wait till then, and then you can plant them out after your last frost, which is usually kind of end of April, early May, depending on where you are in the country. So if you would like a little more support in your mindful gardening and floristry practice, then my 12-month Mind in Bloom beta testing membership program, that's a word mouthful, isn't it, is launching next week, next Monday. So I'm very excited about that. And this just means that you will get more access to me and my mindful gardening and floristry knowledge. This comes in the form of a private membership Facebook group where you can ask any questions that you want. You will also get access to loads of online training videos to help you garden more mindfully and arrange your flowers more mindfully. You will also get a monthly garden live. So this is like a live call via Zoom where you can meet the other people in the membership and we can ask any questions. I actually demonstrate that month's mindful gardening activity live on the call. And you will get your monthly mindful gardening activity that will be sent to you in the post. That's one of the parts of the membership as well. I'm trying to think what else there is. So the reason it's a beta testing version is because I'm trialing kind of a new setup for it, and I want to make sure it's as brilliant as it can be. So I'm launching it in beta mode, so I can ask for feedback from people that join the membership. So if you were to join, I would be asking for your feedback all the way through, trying to work out what you found useful, if there was things that you think should be included that I could record and put in there. And in return for that feedback, I'm going to be giving 25% off the price. So that's a really, really good discount. So if you want the link to that, the wait list is now open. By getting on the wait list, you will be the first to know when it goes on sale. Now, it is only going on sale for 5 days to ensure that you get your box sent out to you in February. So you really do not want to delay on that. So if you are interested at all, then do get on the wait list. Again, I will put it in the down below this video so you can access that. So yeah, it would be great to have you. It'd be fun. If you enjoyed this episode, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're alerted when more videos on mindful gardening and floristry are released by me. I would love for you to come and find me over on Instagram and let me know what you thought of this episode. And if there's any other mindful gardening and floristry techniques that you would love to know more about, then please send me a DM on Instagram. I am @Adventures with Flowers. I hope you have a great week. Bye.